Okay, Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ameen, ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. It's good to see you all. Right now I'm trying to just delay for the first week to a 7:05 start sometimes, just to give people some time to trickle in. But starting from next week, inshallah ta'ala, when the registration is closed and we have our set class, we will be starting at 7, okay? So just giving that little discretion right now. Okay, alhamdulillah. I just have a message here to record because unfortunately last class, our first class, I forgot to record that. So I ended up having to re-record that right after, but it's up there and it's available. If any of you guys need help accessing that content, please let me know, but it's available within your group as well as the notes that we prepared yesterday. So for our second day, what are we going to be diving into? We're going to dive into ism properties. We're going to be starting our study of that single word type ism. But before we do that, let's take a look and walk down what we actually covered yesterday. So one of the first things that we ended up covering in the entirety of this course is the concept of the three types of words. Just going to paste this over here. Can you guys tell me what one of the first types is? Okay, nice. Yep. So you guys are getting it. So the first one, fa'il, which is essentially a verb. And a verb, by that we mean an action word. So that means to hit, to help, to appreciate, anything that requires some form of action that's being conducted, right? And some examples of that could be words such as nasara, right? Which means he helped. Are you guys able to hear me? Let me know if I'm coming across clear. Yeah? Okay. Don't sound too quiet. Crystal clear? Okay. Rafe, you may just have to check it on your end, buddy. I'm not sure what's happening there. Everyone seems to be okay. Inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah khairan, guys. Okay, so Nasara means he helped. And remember, one of the points that we made clear here was that it's not always going to be a one-to-one, meaning that it's a single Arabic word won't necessarily get you a single English word. For verbs especially, built into them is a pronoun. And depending on the way in which it's conjugated, the way in which it's changed, a new pronoun will be embedded within, right? And that's something that we're going to study a little bit further, but that's just something to note for now. Another example would be a word such as kasara, which means he broke, right? Kasara. So it's talking about Ibrahim breaking the idols. This is one of the words that is utilized. Kasara. And another example would be a word such as wajada, right? Which means he found. He found, right? Something to note that's interesting is that every one of these verbs that's been provided here are in the past tense. So found, that's something that happened in the past. Broke, that happened in the past. Helped, that happened in the past, right? This is a reoccurring form that we're working with because it's the base form. So we're going to continue to use examples from here for quite some time. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll bring it into the present, into the future, and into the command in the coming lessons, right? Okay. All right. A second type that you guys put forward is a harf. Does anyone remember the definition of a harf? Just drop it in the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, good stuff, guys. All right, so some of you gave the basic answer, which is a particle. But who really knows what a particle is, right? Many people don't know that. So some of you also said a small word that has an impact on another, right? Or as Brother Riyadh keeps calling it, an impactor word, which is a pretty good way of describing it, right? Yeah, I can make the text bigger. Is that good? Okay, cool. And some examples of harf would be something like lakinna, right? And that means however, ever, or fi, which means in, or wa, right? Which we said is a very common one that comes up in the Quran and text in general, which usually means and, right? And then the third and final one, which many of you already put forward, is an ism. And we said an ism is a unique case because it usually is translated as a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. However, it's a little bit bigger than that. We'd say it's perhaps a supernoun, which means it's anything that is not a harf or fa'il, right? So an example of this would be something like babun, which means door. Or we want to describe an adjective, which would fall under this as well, something such as qabih, right? Qabihun, which means ugly. And just out of curiosity, does anyone remember the word for the opposite of ugly in Arabic? You can just type it, like transliterate it. Yeah, jameel. Wow, nice. Good stuff, guys. So you have jameel, and the opposite of it is qabih, which is if you study the qira'at, one of the things that they'll talk about is the waqtul qabih, the ugly stoppage, right? Which is the place where you shouldn't stop, or a way of stopping, right? Good stuff, guys. Okay, and then look at this word here, al-alimu, which means the scholar. Can anyone tell me why it's the scholar? Why is it not a scholar or just scholar in general? Yeah, correct. So it is the alif lam that's creating that effect of the, right? So if you want to put the into a word, you simply just add alif lam before it, and it pretty much makes it definite. That creates the. Good stuff, guys. Okay, so that was the first thing that we covered, the 3 types of words. And the reason why we covered that is because we were building up to the concept of a sentence. Because everything we do in this course is going to go back to 2 fundamental types of sentences, right? The 2 types of sentences. Can you guys tell me what the 2 types are? Yeah, okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, awesome. So we have the nominal sentence and verbal sentence, right? And in Arabic, this is called jumla fi'liya, while the nominal is known as jumla ismiya, right? Jumla just means sentence, then ismiya means nominal, fi'liya means verbal. Now, is there a jumla harfiya? Does that exist? Yeah, good stuff. You're never going to see a jumla harfiya. Not a thing. Every single type of sentence will go back to these 2. They're always going to be some form of offshoot of this foundation, right? So let's take a look at the breakdown of them. Okay, so the first one is our nominal sentence, which, as we said, is called a jumla ismiya. And our standard template for that is al-baytu jamilun, right? Which means the house is beautiful. If I wanted to say the house is ugly, what word would I use here, guys? Yeah. Good stuff. Yep, we would say al-baytu qabihun, qabihun, and that would become the house is ugly, right? So al-baytu is going to be our subject, right? Which in Arabic is the mubtada. And once more, the subject is the thing in which the nominal sentence revolves around, right? It's your main point of discussion, right? And then the second part is the khabar, right? Or the information, which in Arabic is known as khabar. So what are you going to tell me about it? And as we said, the is or the are will be dropped between the subject and the information. Well, in English, this is called the predicate, right? So the khabar, which is a form of information. So between the subject and predicate, the is or are will be dropped, right? And you're going to be stating something about that subject, essentially. Does anyone remember the signs of the subject? There's two in particular. Okay, good stuff. So for the subject, it's going to be a dhamma ending, right? As we can see right here, and it will be definite. And one of the ways of showing something is definite is that it has alif lam. There's actually several ways that an ism can be definite, but one of the ways is alif lam, and that's what's occurring here, right? We'll look at a few more of those today, inshallah. Do you guys remember the two for the khabar? Right. So Maheen, the question that you're asking there, it's a little bit advanced, but I'll answer it right now, just between you and me. So when you bring in the harfu nida, for example, Ya Muhammad, that sentence structure is an embedded sentence structure. So you have the harfu nida, then you have the munada, then you have the maqal. And that maqal is your actual sentence. Everything that's coming before that is just an additive to it, right? So the actual sentence is the maqal, then all that comes before that is an actual additive, right? Just to break down your question there. Okay, good stuff, guys. So getting back to the khabar. So as you said, it's going to have a dhamma ending, and it will be indefinite, right? And by indefinite, this is usually shown with a tanween, which is indicated by a double ending, right? Double ending. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. Okay. If I said al-baytu baridun, right? So al-baytu baridun. As you guys may know by now, bait means house, barid means cold. So how would you guys translate this? Okay, good stuff. The house is cold, right? I saw some of you guys say the cold house, but that wouldn't be correct in this case. Because if you say the cold house, that's actually you describing that house, not saying something about it in terms of a sentence. We want to throw an is in between. Is khabar always a dhamma ending? Inshallah ta'ala, we'll study that moving forward, but no, it's not. But for the general case right now, we're going to stick with that. Okay, al-baytu baridun, which is the house is cold. Okay, al-qalamu maksurun. So qalam is pen, and maksur means broken. So how would you guys translate that? Okay, good stuff. Pen is broken, right? And the way that we can tell that is because we have a definite ism coming in the beginning. It has a dhamma, so that's going to be my subject. And then afterwards, we have an ism that's coming, and it has a double ending. So that means it's indefinite, and it has a dhamma ending as well. Therefore, that will be my khabar. I drop the is in between, right? I'll just write out the next ones here. So al-Qur'anu mufidun, right? Which means the Quran is beneficial, right? And we'll stop there for the examples, because I think you guys get it at this point. Did not. You see some questions. Wow, okay, you guys actually went ahead and filled that in. Thanks. So Sister Ariba, that's a good question. Sister Ariba was asking, what if we created a sentence where it said a pen is broken, right? So if we were to say a pen is broken, we're going to study that in the future, inshallah ta'ala, but that requires you to create the sentence in a different way, right? So it will be a different type of sentence manifestation. Salman is asking, does tanween indicate indefiniteness? Yes, yes, it does. We're going to cover that today, inshallah. Okay, so that's the nominal sentence. Let's go on to the verbal sentence. Okay, so the verbal sentence, which is known as jumla fi'liya, and the standard example that we have for that we're going to keep coming back to in the course is خَلَقَ اللَّهُ آدَمَ, right? Does anyone remember the translation for this? Okay, good stuff, guys. Allah created Adam, right? Because the love jalala, remember the majestic word or the honored word, is going to be in a state of dhamma, has a dhamma on the end, and it's coming after our verb. So therefore, it's going to be our doer. And then the one who's receiving has a fatha ending, which in this case is adama. So therefore, that will be our receiver or our maf'ul in English. So our first part is the fi'l, which is a verb. And as many of you said, that is going to come in the beginning, will be present in the beginning, right? Okay, the next part is the fa'il, which is the doer. It will come after the verb and have a dhamma ending, which we can see with the laf jalala there. And then finally, we have the maf'ul, which is the receiver. And this one will come, it will have a fatha ending, as we can see with Adam over there. Right, so that's the verb. Just going to put forward some examples here. Say we have this instance here with dakhala rajulul bayta, right? If I said dakhala means to enter, rajul means man, and bayt means house, what would this sentence mean? Yeah, so Sa'im, to your question, is the maf'ul not the detail? It can be called the receiver, or it can be called the detail. It really depends on which maf'ul type you're using, which we'll get into, inshallah ta'ala, soon. Yeah, so the definitions is dakhala means to enter, rajul means man, and bayt means house. Yeah, good stuff, guys. The man entered the house, right? So the man, I know to put him first because he has a dhamma ending. He's coming after the verb. So that's my fa'il, or my doer. And then my receiver, the thing that he's doing the entering to, is going to be with a fatha, and that's bayt in this case, right? Yeah, Sister Ariba asked, does the receiver have to be a person? Can it also be an object? Yeah, it can be an object. Yep, no problem there. Okay, so next example. Here we have kataba Zaydul kitaba, right? So kataba means to write. Zayd is, an individual named Zayd. And then kitab means book. How would you guys translate this? Okay, cool. You guys are killing it. Good stuff. What if I said this? How would you change your translation now? Stuff. Okay, so it become Zayd wrote a book, right? We say a book now because it has the tanween ending. It's no longer definite. Third one. So nasara means to help. Alim means scholar. And mu'min means believer. How would you guys translate this? Yeah, Rafe, for the so Rafe is asking, what did we change here? All we did before is that it had al-kitab, that, which meant the book. Then we shifted to kitab then, right? Like that, with the double ending, and then it became a book, right? It was just switching this to becoming indefinite. Okay, cool. You guys got that? This is going to be the scholar helped a believer, right? Not the believer, but a believer, indefinite. Cool. All right, guys, that pretty much reviews what we covered yesterday. Now we can actually get into today's content. And many a times, this is how our lessons will work. We'll take our time going through the prior content from the day before, and then we'll move ahead with what's coming up. That should not be the house. Yep, it's the house here because of the ad. Salman, yep. What does nasara mean? Nasara means to help. Okay. The believer was helped by the scholar. So we couldn't say that the believer was helped by the scholar. And we'll get into that, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so into today's topic, definiteness, right? As we said, we're going to be covering the actual properties of an ism now. So we looked at a sentence, we looked at the two sentences, we looked at the three types of words. Now we're going to zoom in and do a deep dive on the ism itself. Figure out all the different parts of it that you need to know so that when it occurs, you can actually begin to build things, right? So let's go ahead. So now we're going to focus our study on the ism. The ism has four properties, right? The first and the foremost that we're covering today is definiteness, but it also has gender, it also has number, as well as status, right? By definiteness, it is meant that an ism. Oh, yeah, so to confirm, an ism, someone's asking, what exactly is an ism again? So an ism is a supernoun, meaning that it's anything that's not a harf or a fa'il, right? Just clarifying there. Okay. By definiteness, it means that an ism is either definite, and that means that it's specific. So it's referring to a specific thing, like the book, right? There's no generality there. It's a specific thing. And usually what we've studied so far, this is achieved with an alif lam, right? As we've seen with al-baytu, al-qalamu, all those different instances that we've looked at so far. Okay. Just going to leave that for now. Or it is indefinite, which is achieved by making it non-specific. So essentially, this would become something like a house or a book. It's no longer a specific entity. And how we achieve this in Arabic is with a double ending, right? So this is known as a tanween. Let's take a look at some quick examples. Oh, one small point to note here. By default, all isms are indefinite. That's their standard default way. You have to bring in the alif lam or some other thing in order to make it definite. But if 90% of the time, they're going to be indefinite. Okay. So if you look at it here, regardless of what the ending is, if you're dealing with a double ending, then it's going to be indefinite, right? Or some of you guys may know it as common, right? Some people say that definite is called proper, while other people say that indefinite is called common. Doesn't matter, semantics. In this course, we just call it definite, indefinite, right? So if you have a double ending, then it's going to be indefinite. So this means a man. This also means a man. And this also, once again, means a man, right? One small thing to note here is that when you have a fatha double ending, an alif will be added, right? So if I had the word Beta, right? When it's singular, there's no problem, right? When you only have one diacritical mark. But as soon as you make it a double diacritical mark with a tanween, you have to add that alif. And that's there for reading purposes. It's not necessarily a grammatical thing. So don't let that trip you up, inshallah. Okay? So you guys tell me, I'm going to put some examples forward, and you guys let me know if it's definite or indefinite. So, ar-rajulu, definite or indefinite?
Definite.
Yep. Okay, good stuff. Okay. Ash-shaja, shajarati. Definite or indefinite? Okay, good stuff. Qabihan. Definite or indefinite?
Indefinite.
Okay, good stuff. Then al-waladu. Definite or indefinite?
Definite.
Okay. Stuff. Okay. Guys, try not to write on the screen. I think someone's trying to take notes there, but they ended up writing on the screen. Yeah, thank you. Please erase that. Yeah, just an announcement. Please make sure to keep your mics muted during class, just so everyone has a chance to write it in the chat. I'll try and go slower so everyone gets a little bit more time to write so nobody feels rushed. Thank you. Okay, so indefinite, double ending. Definite, not going to have a double ending. It'll probably have an alif lam or something else, right? Well, there's an exception to this, right? So the only exception to this rule is a pure Arab masculine name. In this case, it will have a double ending, even though it is definite, right? So if I put forward a name like, Muhammad, this is a pure Arab name, comes from Hamida, right? Muhammadun. I'll make that larger, right? In this case, Muhammad, it's going to be definite. If I say Muhammad went to the store, you're going to know which Muhammad I was talking about. It's specific by nature, right? Because it's the name of something. It's a proper name, right? And since it's a pure Arab name, it's going to take a double ending. Okay? So let's look at some more examples of this. We have Muhammad, we have, Asad, then, Asad is a pure Arab name. Zaid, which we use a lot in this course, and it comes up all the time in grammar books. Zaidin, and then Amin, Nun, right? It's going to have a double ending in that case. Okay, however, this will not apply to non-Arab names and female names, right? So even if it's a pure female name, Arab name, then it's not going to have this apply to it. So an example of this for a non-Arab name would be Ibrahim, right? See, it's not Ibrahimun, it's Ibrahimu, right? And then for a female name, we have like a name like Fatimata. See, it's not Fatimatan, Fatimatin, Fatimata or Fatimati. Why? Because it is not a pure Arab masculine name, right? Okay, so I'll put forward some examples here and you guys let me know if it should be double or single, right? So let's do my name. Is it going to be Alimun or Alimun or Alimu? Double or single? You guys tell me. Okay, yeah, good stuff. So Alimun, right? Because it's a pure Arab name. Okay, what if I did a name like Sadiqa? Sadiqa, would it be Sadiqati or Sadiqatin? Yeah, okay. As you guys said, it's a female name. Sadiqa is a female name. So therefore, it's going to have it single, not double. Won't have the tanween. What if I said Riyadh? And I want to say Riyadh or Riyadhan? It's going to be double or single? Yeah, good stuff, guys. Riyadh will be double because it's a pure Arab name. And then Salman. If I said Salman, will it be Salmanu or Salmanun? Yeah, Salmanu, right? It's Salman al-Farisi. He was a Persian and it got adapted into Arabic. Good stuff. Okay. Okay, so there are several instances where a word will be definite, right? However, for now, it is only important that you remember two instances, right? Does anyone remember the first instance? Yep, okay. When a word begins with al, we've seen multiple times now. Okay. And the second instance, anyone remember? Good stuff. So when it is a proper name, right? This is just the name of something. So Muhammad, for example, right? Muhammadun, or it could be, also Fatima, Fatimatu, right? They're both going to be definite. Why? Because they're referring to a thing, right? It's the name of something. We know already by mentioning it what it is. Now, there's an exception to this, which we covered, which is that only the pure Arab names will have a tanween ending, right? They are still definite, but they just carry the tanween, right? Just an exception to the rule that we've seen. Somebody asked the question, how does one recognize if the name is pure Arab or not? That will come with time, right? As you read more Arab-based texts, then you'll be able to kind of get that understanding, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. Pure Arab masculine names. Yes, I will put that in there. Pure Arab masculine names. Thank you. Okay. So let's try some examples here, guys. So feminine names cannot have a tanween ending no matter what. For the most part, yes, that is correct. There is a slight exception to that, but inshallah ta'ala we'll cover that later on. Not trying to get into the exceptions right now. Too many of them. Okay, guys. So this is Zaid and this is Alim. How would you guys translate this? Alim means scholar again. Sorry. I like that somebody just wrote Zaid in pure cap letters. That's a great answer. Yeah, okay, cool. Zaid is a scholar. We're still going to treat Zaid as our mubtada in the nominal sentence. Why? Because it is definite, because it's a proper name. It's referring to someone specific, right? It's definite, and it has a dhamma ending. And then we're going to treat this as our khabar, because it has a dhamma ending, and it is indefinite, right? Which we know by the tanween ending. Cool. Let's try this one here. So Adamu Zakiyun, right? So Adam is the name Adam, and then Zaki is like intelligent or smart. Okay, good stuff. Adam is intelligent, right? And then the last one here, Muhammadun Sadiqun. So Sadiq means trustworthy. So how would you guys translate that? Okay, awesome stuff, guys. Muhammad is trustworthy. right? And those are our two parts there. I'll highlight that for you guys. Again, and the thing that we're trying to drive home here is that you don't need alif lam to make something definite to be your mubtada. In fact, it can just be a proper name, right? Which in this case is Muhammad. In this case, it's Adam. In this case, it's Zayd. Can anyone tell me why Adam doesn't have a double ending? What's going on here? I thought all masculine names have double endings. Right. Okay, cool. So the exception is that non-Arab names like Adam, which was adapted into Arabic, and female names will not have that rule applied to it. Cool stuff. Okay, so that is definiteness for now. As we said, there are several instances where definiteness will occur. We've only covered two. As we cover them, as they come up, we're going to reference back to this, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll give you all 7 at one time. Okay, so that's definiteness. Let's go into our second property. Ism property number 2, which is status. Okay. The status of an ism will tell you the purpose of the ism in a sentence, right? This is determined by the diacritical mark on the end of the ism, right? Okay, so depending if it has a fatha, dhamma, or kasra, that's actually going to unveil the entire story behind that word. It's going to tell you what that ism's purpose is in life, essentially. So let's go ahead and build a chart for this. Talk about our status. We're going to talk about the signs, the sign for it, as well as its application. And then finally, an example. So for the 3 statuses that we have, they are rafa', nasab, and jar. Right? These are the 3 statuses in the Arabic language for an ism. There is a 4th one, but that one applies to verbs, so we're going to cover that later on. This is just in the realm of the ism, remember? Ism property. So a rafa', the way that we tell, the simple way that we tell, is that it has a dhamma on the end. Right? So you guys tell me, the mubtada and khabar that we've been studying right now, the subject and the predicate, what state are they in? Yeah, good stuff. It's in the state of rafa, right? Nasb, what's known by a fatha ending. Is there anything that you guys know that we've studied so far where we keep seeing a fatha ending appearing? Yeah, okay. You guys are saying the maf'ul, which is the receiver, right? And then jar is a kasra ending, which we haven't seen any such as of yet. So the application of this, like where this applies, for the rafa case, it's going to be your mubtada, which is your subject. It is also going to be your khabar, right? Which is your predicate. And then it will also be your fa'il, which is your doer. Let's take a look at an example here. So if I said al-Qur'anu karimun, right? Both of these words, this is a nominal sentence. I know that. Why? Because this has alif lam, therefore it's definite, and it has a dhamma ending, meaning it's in a state of rafa, right? So that was going to be my mubtada. Then I have a khabar here that is indefinite. How do I know that? Because of the tanween ending, and it has a dhamma ending, which means it's in a state of rafa, right? So my mubtada and my khabar are both in a state of rafa. How do I tell that? Because of the dhamma ending that's there. So dhamma and rafa should become a little bit synonymous in your minds. And we'll study the exceptions to that. However, that's generally how it's going to be. Okay. And then for a fa'il, let's say we have, our classic example here. خَلَقَ اللَّهُ آدَمَ. Right? Can you guys tell me which word in here is in a state of rafa? Yeah, good stuff. It's going to be your love jalal, which is our doer. So as we said, the doer is the word that comes after the verb and it bears a dhamma. Therefore, your doer is always going to be in a state of rafa, right? Dhamma, rafa. Got to marry them together. Okay, let's hop into the world of nasb, right? And one of the ones that we've studied so far, and there's about 12 instances of the Arabic language where words will go into a state of nasb, meaning they will bear that fatha. There are 6 for rafa, and for jar, there's only 2. This is the easiest one to get down. Okay, so for the nasb, the one that we've studied so far is the maf'ul, right? Which is our receiver, the one who's receiving the action, right? So if I put forward this example again, in this scenario here with خَلَقَ اللَّهُ آدَمَ, then our receiver is going to be Adam. How do I know it's my receiver? Because it has a fatha on the end, therefore it's in a state of nasb, right? And so for kasra, we haven't studied this yet, so just a sneak peek, call it a preposition. There's a particular list of harf. Remember, a harf is a small word that has an impact on another word. It's from our 3 types of words. When one of those words from that list comes forward, it will force the word that comes after it to go into a state of jar. So one of those words is ala, right? So any word that comes after ala will bear a kasra after it in a state of jar, right? So ala al-bayti, which translates to on the house, right? This word here is in a state of jar. How do I know that? Because it bears the kasra, right? Okay, so you guys help me out here. I'm going to put some words forward and then let me know what state they're in. Okay, first word here, al-babi, rafa, nasab, or jar. I'll give you guys some time to respond. Okay, awesome. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Jar, right? Jar. And how do we know it was jar? Because it has the kasra ending. So its status is jar, meaning it might very well be a preposition that's forcing it to be that way, right? How about the word kitaban? What state is that? Nasb, nasb. Okay, good stuff. Nasb. And what would it play in a sentence if you saw that occurring from what we know right now? Yep. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Yep, it would be our maf'ul over here, right? Okay, nasb. Okay, al-Quran, nu, rafa, nasab, or jar. Okay, awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Come on. A few more people. You guys can do it. Good stuff, Sid. Okay, rafa. Awesome. Okay, alhamdulillah. So now we're just going to go through a few sentence examples, just applying some of the things that we learned today, and then we can call class a wrap, inshallah. So this section called sentences to master, we're going to try and include it every so often. It won't be with every single lesson, but the idea behind this is that if you can understand these sentences, like, you know, why they're being translated with is in between, what the 2 parts of this are, what the 3 parts of this are, then you got this lesson down, right? And you're on the right track. So what you should always have in your mind is a framework to work off of, because one of the things you realize is that languages work on patterns, right? So this basic pattern that we've been talking about, you know, this whole mubtada khabar thing, have a sentence that you have in the back of your mind that shows that, and then always go back to that so you can mimic that. The words and the vocabulary that we put on that will all be painted onto the structure later on, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so some examples of nominal sentences. Al-babu qadimun, right? Al-babu is going to be my mubtada, right? First of all, I can tell this is a nominal sentence. How do I know that? Because it begins with an ism, right? Bab is an ism. Now, I can tell that this is my mubtada. Why? Because it's definite. And the giveaway of that is that it has alif lam. That's why it's the door. And then it's in a state of rafa, right? It has the dhamma ending, right? So it checks off those 2 marks. This is going to be my mubtada. Then I know this is my khabar. right? My predicate. Why do I know that? Because it is indefinite, and this is shown by the tanween ending, and it's in a state of rafa. So I'm going to drop my is in between, right? Whenever you see a nominal sentence, the first thing you should ask yourself, where is my mubtada? Where is my khabar? And where am I going to put the is in between, right? So al-baytu baridun, right? Which means the house is cold, right? And in this case, same thing's happening here. We have alif lam, therefore it's definite, has a dhamma ending, therefore it's a rafa. This is going to serve as my mubtada or my subject. Then baridun is going to be indefinite, and I know that because it has a double ending, has a tanween, and it's also in a state of rafa. So I'm going to drop the is in between. The house is cold. Muhammadun sadiqun. So in this case, we have no alif lam here. How is this serving as your mubtada? Can anyone tell me? Just fire off in the chat. Cool, awesome. It's not the fact that it's a pure Arab name. The pure Arab name means that it has the double ending, right? The tanween, which is our exception. It's the fact that it's a name to begin with. And names of things are definite. So if I said Muhammad, if I said Alim, if I said Ali, if I even named a place like Canada or Ontario or Saudi, if I name these places, they're definite by nature. Why? Because it's specific. You know which Saudi I'm speaking about, right? So Muhammadun Sadiqun. In this case, definite by nature because it's a name of a thing. And then it is in a state of rafa, which we can tell by the dhamma ending. Now Sadiq, we can tell this is our khabar. Why? Because it's in a state of rafa, because it has a dhamma ending, and it's also indefinite as well, which is known by the tanween. Zaydun alimun follows, or alimun follows the same structure here, which would mean Zayd is a scholar, right? So Brother Salim is asking, definite in nature means it is a proper noun or a proper name. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, can you go over what rafa means again? Just trying to absorb it. No problem. So the term rafa, what we covered here, is essentially just indicating that that it's in a particular state, right? And the state tells us that it's going to be your mubtada, your khabar, or your fa'il, depending on where it's placed in the sentence. And the sign of that is going to be the dhamma. So in a nominal sentence, al-Qur'anu, this word is in a state of rafa. How can I tell that? Because it has a dhamma ending. My khabar over here, or my predicate, this is also in a state of rafa. How can I tell that? Because it has a dhamma ending. Okay, cool. So hopping into the verbal sentence, Nasara Zaydun Aliyan, which means Zayd helped Ali. So Nasara is a verb. So when I see a verb coming in the beginning, I know there has to be two other things I'm looking for. I got to ask myself, who's doing this action and who's receiving this action? And the way I can tell that who my doer is that it has a dhamma ending, right? Therefore, it's in a state of rafa. So Zayd helped. And then the one who's receiving the help is going to have the fatha ending, which means it's in a state of nasb, aliyan. خَلَقَ اللَّهُ آدَمَ, which is our general example. I'll skip that one right now. دَخَلَ الرَّجُلُ الْبَيْتَ, which means the man entered the house. In this case, we have a verb coming in the beginning. We ask ourselves, who is our doer? How do we identify our doer? It's going to be in a state of rafa, meaning it has that dhamma ending. You can see here. So the man is the one who entered the house, not that the house entered the man, right? You don't want to make that mistake. And then al-bayta, based on the fact that it's in a state of nasb, which I can tell because it has the fatha ending, that will then be my receiver. And then kataba Zaydul kitaba follows the same pattern. Zayd wrote the book. Okay. So if you guys, before every class, I would highly recommend going over these notes. They're always available on the Dropbox if you're in the class group. If not, feel free to reach out to Sister Anam at taqwa or program.taqwa@gmail.com, and you can get registered to get access to this content, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, someone asked, what does the status actually mean? Yeah, so that word status can sound a little bit loaded. In Arabic, it's i'rab, which means that's going to tell you what the purpose of the word is in the sentence, right? So if I'm dealing with a verbal sentence and a word is in a state of rafa, meaning it has that dhamma ending, I now know its purpose, which is that it's going to be the doer. The endings tell the whole story of the word. Can you please write the words in Arabic? Rafa', dhamma, fatha, kasra. Sure, yeah. It'd be rafa'a, like that, nasb, and then jar, like that. Can we say Zaidul Kitab? Oh, by the way, guys, when we enter into Q&A for class is technically dismissed. So if you don't have any questions and you don't want to listen on the Q&A, feel free to leave, okay? It's no problem at all. And the recordings are always up with this stuff by the end of the night, inshallah. Anam is just clarifying that the email is taqwa.program@gmail.com. Sorry, not program.taqwa, but taqwa.gmail, taqwa.program. Yeah, okay, so someone's asking, can you explain again why the sentence starts with a verb and not with the name again? Because it sounds like helped Zaid Ali. So I think the question here that's being asked is, why is it that in English we say Zaid first instead of not putting helped first? Because that's there first in the Arabic, right? One of the things that we'll learn is that one grammatical structure of a language is not going to match the other grammatical structure of another language, right? In English, the subject always comes first. The thing that you're talking about always comes first because nouns are more powerful in the English language. And generally, they work more off of nominal structures. So because of that, the way that the English language is built, Zaid will have to come first, the person that we're talking about. Even though in Arabic, that's a verbal sentence, in English, that would count as a nominal sentence, right? So it's a switch of sleight of hand in terms of grammar. Okay. Oh, wa alaikum salam, Brother Haris. So it'd be kataba Zaydun and then al-kitaba or kitaban. So one person asks, what if you say Zaydun first and then Nasara afterwards? We'll learn about that after. You can say that, but it's no longer a verbal sentence. So if I say something like this, Zaydun Nasara aliyan, right? This would mean Zayd helped Ali, right? It has a very similar meaning. However, if I write it in this way, there's a level of emphasis that's embedded in the Arabic language. And this is something that we're going to learn later on. That doesn't just simply mean that Zayd helped Ali. It means most definitely Zayd helped Ali, right? It's not a common way of writing it. And this would count as a nominal sentence. We'll get into that later, inshallah. That answers that. Jazakallah khairan, barakallah fikum. Do we need to refer to the provided textbook? And we'll be go over the textbook in class. So no, you don't have to refer to it. It's there for your own benefit as an extra piece of material. However, if you'd like to, it's there. But this entire course is a condensed version of that textbook, right? Taking like those 500, 600 pages and breaking it down into a condensed course over the next 4 months or so. And what these notes are doing that we provide to you is actually summarizing all that content. So rather than reading after having to read hundreds of pages, you just kind of have to refer back to 60, inshallah. Is Zayd a pure Arab name? Yes, Zayd is a pure Arab name. Okay, cool, guys. Any further questions? Got about 1 minute left. Will we have a quiz next week and will you check marks? Yes, we will have a quiz next week on Monday, inshallah ta'ala. You will have an assignment provided to you on the weekend that allows you to prepare for that quiz. It's going to be all on this content, not super long, and we're going to take it up in class as well as mark it in class. And then you guys will send me your marks, inshallah. Okay, with that, we can conclude. If you have any further questions, feel free to message me. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.